Hello. Hey, Kasper. How you doing?
Hello, good evening. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for joining. I really
My
appreciate it.
daughter just came in to tell me to say like you should probably turn off your music if you're going to go live on the stream. I said it's part of it. It's part of it.
I love the warning she gave you. She's such a young pro. I like it.
Yes. Well, they know more about streaming, YouTube, and all of these things
Tell me about it.
than all of us together, I think.
It's one of these things. Like I have two kids. My daughter's 10. My son is 7, and um, I always find it really scary how intuitive everything is to them. Like the concept of touchscreen. And I remember my daughter getting frustrated that my laptops they don't have touchscreen. You know, so we're just to watch them go to the screen and like move up and down, and then understand very quickly how everything works. Mad.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry we can get to that. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself in case there's
Sure.
anyone in the world who doesn't know who you are?
Sure. Pretty sure. So my name is Kasper de Jonge. I am a program manager on the Fabric Cat team. I still have to, not Power BI Cat team, it's Fabric Cat team.
Right, yeah.
So we have to make sure we say that right.
Yeah.
I've been at Microsoft for quite a long time, almost 15 years now. So yeah, it's quite a
Crazy.
while.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting journey. All the time in the same sphere. So I started working Power Pivot. That's how I. That's my first love, Power Pivot.
Okay, okay.
That's how I got started and how they lured me into move to the US and stayed there for a couple of years, and then I moved back. And then I also joined the customer advisory team with all the great folks on the team. I see Alex is in the chat right now,
Yeah,
and a bunch of other great teammates. It's an amazing team to be in, and
cool.
you learn every day. You know.
I can imagine. So, regarding the name Fabric Cat Team, right? The, I thought at some point they were going to make it Fabricat. So, is it Fabric Cat or Fabricat?
I think it's not an official name anyway, but Alex will have
Yeah,
uh, Alex will have opinions.
fair enough.
I'm
So,
pretty sure about the
I
name.
just say great to see Casper make the stream. There's a small story behind that. Basically, when we met in Utrecht, I shamed you into coming on. Basically, I cornered you
Yes.
and I forced you to come on, right?
No, no,
So
no. It's always great. It's always great. It's always great. But yes, I was not following you on Twitter, I think. So you
I
or
couldn't. Yeah, I'm such a professional. I do all my organizations through Twitter DM. That's basically what it comes down to. Yeah, so no, I'm really happy to have you on as well, mate.
yeah, it's
So
amazing.
your first, so you started with Power Pivot,
Yeah.
and what was your role when you were doing that? I'm curious.
I mean, I started with PowerPivot. I mean, so even going further back, I was a multidimensional fan. I followed Chris Webb, now my colleague. I have his books be right behind me. And yeah, I read his books. I did multidimensional. I think the best book still about multidimensional is the one he wrote together with Marco and Alberto. It's
Cool.
not that big book, but it's very practical, and I used it like I had it on my desk every day.
Mm.
And honestly, I was not that good, but I used that book to do MDX and all of these things.
MDX,
And
concept.
then Power Pivot came along,
Mm. Mm.
and I was just like, oh my god, things you can do with this, and also DAX instead of MDX. DAX just spoke to me so much more than MDX did. So I got very interested in it, and I was in the early previews of it, and I have my blog. I don't do much blogging anymore, but it's
Mm.
uh, I was writing on about it, and at one point I still remember I still have the post somewhere. Like I did a blog post, and then Amir Nats replied saying, "Oh, this is great feedback, and what did you think about this? And did you think about this?" And I started to get more and more engaged with the product team then. And that was 2009.
No way.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was quite cool. And at the time, Rob Colley, Power Pivot Pro,
Yeah.
was also just beginning his blog, and that was mostly what he did, blogging about these things. And then we started talking a lot about all these things.
Mm.
And yeah, and that's kind of how it went. And he told me at one point, like, "Oh yeah, I'm leaving Microsoft. Do you want to take my job?"
No way. That's awesome.
So I said, "Well, I don't know about that, but 15 years later, I'm still here. So they still haven't kicked me out.
I'm loving in the chat all the emotions that MDX is bringing up, by the way. This is so really like, if you had to choose MDX versus DAX.
DAX.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So, like,
I also was a PM for DAX for a while, so I
yeah, okay, yeah.
I definitely am biased towards DAX than MDX.
MDX is one of those things I look at and it kind of scares me a little bit, but yeah, I get it.
I mean, there are some really cool things that you can do with MDX. Like, I mean, the thing that is really good at it is it's hierarchical. There's so many things that you can do with MDX that you cannot do with DAX, but it has like when we talk about like there's all these things about the modeling, right? We always keep talking about even in the tabular land, you need modeling.
Mm.
In the multidimensional world, that is like exponentially worse because it's not just the model itself, the dimensions and the measure groups and the attributes relationships that are inside, and you have to make sure that the data is correctly stored inside of the model based on the attributes relationships that you have in there. Like it gets complicated in a hurry.
Yeah.
So, but because you have done that, there are things possible in the language that are not possible in the DAX world. And yeah.
I think for MD, I mean, I honestly, I've got very little idea about MDX. I've seen it a few times and I was like, okay, fair enough. So it would be one of those things that would be really interesting to learn, but I'm never going to, clearly. You know, it would just be like, oh, I feel it might be the wrong thing to learn in the things that I want to kind of achieve, but just to kind of understand all the very passionate things that people are talking about. I think DAX,
Well,
MDX.
and even more funny is how I actually got into into the class, the MDX training. So I don't know if anyone here remembers BizTalk. BizTalk is some messaging service for Microsoft, and my boss sent me on a training course for BizTalk a long time ago, and thought this is great. I went to that training course and I came back and I told him, if I have to do this one day in my life more, I'm going to quit my job and never do it again. It was so horrible. So then I started figuring out, okay, what else do I want to do? And then we came to, okay, let's try business intelligence and do stuff here. And then Nico, who is still teaching trainings like DAX and for U2U in Belgium, I followed his training in like, I think this is probably 2007 or something. He's still at conferences and he's still giving classes and trainings. He's amazing. And I followed his MDX training, multidimensional, and they were using, BizTalk. Ben, yeah, I can imagine Ben being a BizTalk guy, but
Makes sense.
I didn't love it. I didn't love it. But it was great. And that's how I started rolling into multidimensional models and things like
Fair
that.
enough. So 1 second, I'm not sure if this is a real question or not, or a joke. I'm so out of my element right here.
No, the M language did not come out of BizTalk.
Okay, there you go. Maybe it was a joke. I'm not sure, but seriously, one of the things I've got so little idea about. You could say literally anything in the chat. I might actually believe it, and I haven't got
Yeah.
time to Google it. Oh, sorry, I haven't got time to web search it. Shall we say?
Bing it.
Bing it. That's the one. Bing it.
No, you can say Google. It's not a problem. It's not a problem anymore. It used to be more of a problem, but not anymore.
Oh, sorry. I should say I haven't got time to co-pilot it. Maybe would that be more? Would that be
I
fair?
mean, to be honest, I love that Copilot, so I use it all the time.
Are you? Is it something that you test often or use often within your job within Microsoft, or are you just?
I mean, first of all, the integration of like Copilot in Office and Teams is so amazing because my team is 24 hours goes on, right? And when you wake up in the morning, it's like I don't know how many emails are there.
Yeah.
Now there is a summarize button. I don't have to actually go to the meeting. I say summarize the meeting. What are the action points? And I'm all caught up.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
It is amazing. So I'll tell you what. I'll be really honest. Okay. So I started using Copilot a bit at work. I'm part of this team. You could like sign up to be like part of the people who trial it or whatever. I was like, cool. I want to do it. Sounds fun. And then one of the first things I tried was in Teams, and it was like summarize of your weekly conversations or something. And I was like, let's test that, and that was awesome. I got to admit that was very, very good. I find that thus far it's very good at the things it prompts you to do. But for example, if I ask it to do something, like I ask it the question of the day, when's my next flight? Yeah, and obviously it's a business flight, so all the information's there. And it told me that my next flight was in November the 19th, 2023. And I was like, oh, it's probably not that to be fair. My next flight's in 2 weeks, so there's still a little bit to go there for sure. But regarding summing up, you're right. It is very very good. It saves you
Yeah.
a lot of time.
It's things like that, but I actually use it in my personal life too. Like if I want to do a day trip or I want to do something or I want to know something more,
Mm,
I just open the Copilot app on my phone. It's not work related. Actually, I use my personal Hotmail account for
okay.
it. Anyone can do it. It's the Copilot app on my phone, and I just ask it to do all kinds of things, like summarize it, or like, hey, I'm planning to go to this. I have 2 days that I want to go here. What would you recommend me to do?
Yeah,
And it
perfect.
just gives me a nice list.
I should try it. I'm going to go to the Faroe Islands soon for this Viz.fo, the data visualization conference, which I'm very much looking forward to. And I have zero idea about Faroe Islands. I did learn that Faroe and Faroe Islands are two very different places, so don't accidentally almost book the flight to the wrong place. I did actually almost book the flight.
Well, at least one has sunshine, the other one doesn't.
Look how pale I am. Do I look like a person who wants sunshine?
Fair point. Fair point.
Um, Actually, on that, a bit kind of on topic, kind of, but also a bit not. Regarding using something to give you tips as to what to do, like plan a summary. Have you seen this device, the Rabbit R1? Have you seen
I
this?
did, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that because it's the demos that they do. And of course, when you see a demo, it's difficult to trust what's going on there. It's not particularly expensive. It looks quite interesting. I'm not sure. Are you tempted at all by that?
No.
Fair enough.
I think.
That was
I
such a
mean,
like absolutely not.
absolutely not. No, I mean, I don't think these things are ready yet.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, actually, I don't know. I don't know if you follow this guy Marquise on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. He just does everything tech, and he has like resources and like this is one AI pin that he recently reviewed, like yesterday or day before or something. He said it's the worst device that
Oh,
I ever reviewed.
is this Marcus? No, what's it?
Marquise is like he's from the US.
Ah, sorry.
He-
Okay, I do. Yeah, I pronounced his name wrong. In that case, yes, I do follow him. He's very good. Yeah, he also.
Yeah, and so he did this thing, this AI pin. It looks really cool, and the demo is like you can actually project stuff on your hand,
Right. Yeah.
and it's. But when he looks at the like, even he has a little video on Twitter that he did like yesterday or something, like 2 minutes to kind of show you how ridiculous this thing is.
Mm, yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah. And actually, I saw it. I haven't seen the video yet, but I've been meaning to watch it because it looks very interesting. I watched his review recently of the was it the cyber car and some
Cybertruck. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, the
yeah.
cyber
I said
truck.
too.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. It's a cool channel.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyways,
he definitely he's very nice, and but he doesn't shy away from giving his honest opinions,
not at all. I saw
which
him
must be scary for some people. But
for sure. Like he also reviewed this car, and he was like, "This is like the worst car I've ever reviewed." Like it was like some other
yeah,
electric car, of which I've got zero idea. And I'm just watching it because I'm curious. I can't afford such things, but just to educate myself on all that
yeah.
technology.
Well, we can get the Cybertruck anyway here, so
That is true. It would kill pedestrians. I think
yeah.
apparently it would not pass European safety laws.
But I think it will be very interesting. I think those AI things, like I did actually something on my podcast too with Alex,
Mhm.
one of the guys on my team who works in the AI part of Fabric,
Yeah.
and he lives in Berkeley, and he's on campus there, and I mean it's pretty amazing. Like right in the thick of things.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that you can do there, it's
Yeah.
with AI. I don't know if there was something new that got released today. When I woke up this morning, there was all this new something Microsoft got released where you can
Okay.
just take a picture of someone and then it can actually you transform it into full text video and like
That's
eh,
mad.
in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, I cannot even imagine how amazing it is.
Yeah. It's
Oh, it's also a bit scary, but yeah,
It is. It's very interesting. I would say it's interesting as it is scary for sure. But it's all about the control you have over it and the fact that the potential uses of all the terrible things that can be done and just also weighed up against. So actually, what I found for me in my job, I mean, just professionally, I was speaking to my boss the other day about this and talking about how much time AI has actually saved me doing my job. And I really
Yeah.
said AI has currently saved me. This is my let me don't be controversial here. AI has currently saved me, in my opinion, zero time in my current job. What it's done is allow me to do things I wouldn't have done extremely quickly and added huge value. So
Yeah.
it hasn't saved me time. Essentially it's probably cost me a time, a very small amount of time. But what I've been able to do with that time is huge. And for the end users, for example, when I create reports, like if I talk like hitting the Chat GPT API, take out all your measure descriptions and stuff, and then create tables and documentation from all that stuff, it's amazing. Would I have done that? Absolutely not. I don't have time for that. But now you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so this actually reminds me of Power Pivot days,
Okay.
because this is exactly the value prop we told people in Excel. Like in Excel, the way that they were keeping their Excel files up to date is by copying all the new data in every quarter or every month or whatever it is, and then make sure everything works again and fixes. And now with Power Pivot, we told them like you press refresh
Mm.
and all the data is updated and everything just works. Like new data, just that's it. You didn't have to do anything. Now you have time
Yeah.
to actually spend on understanding and analyzing the data.
Yeah.
What more can you do with it?
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely something that we can do. Like in the same thing with me. Like when I summarize, like I don't have to go back and watch all the meetings that I missed overnight. I can just summarize it, and now I have time to do other things.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
So I think that's definitely the value prop of
That's
this.
true. That's very true. And also that kind of like to my point about not saving, that definitely will save me time though. You know, that actually instead of having to go through, okay, what happened in this chat or who mentioned what. One of the things I wish it could do, which it currently can't do, I was having lots of conversations about licenses this week at work. And what I wanted to do was find out how many people had contacted me about licenses. So I asked that question, but I couldn't bring the answer, unfortunately. I tried to, there was we did a presentation, sorry, someone gave us a presentation, I'm trying to say, about Copilot and the best ways to use it. And I didn't realize that sometimes you have peak times where it gets overloaded, so it can't do stuff. So I might try and ask the same question at a different time of the day. But that would certainly be very helpful. I'm just going to bring up this point because when people agree with me, I always bring it up because I've got a very fragile ego. So if someone says they agree, I'm just going to bring it up there. There you go. Cheers, mate. I appreciate that. True. Actually, it's a good point. Power Pivot was in
I know.
2009, and that's 15 years. That's crazy. It's so true.
I know. It's only 15. It's pretty easy. And to me, like the majority of the like really revolutionary things are still built on the same engine that was built then. So it's not exactly the same engine, but it's pretty much the
Yeah.
same engine. Like
Yeah.
Direct Lake is still running on the same VertiPack engine that was the same VertiPack engine in 2009 or 8.
Yeah.
So, and it still is revolutionary.
Yeah.
Of course, things have changed a little bit, but yeah, it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's pretty special. And yeah, also you're a meeting heavy team. I suppose you had to be a meeting heavy team, given that you have a quite a wide. You're all over the world, right? I mean, you're on.
Yeah.
So it must be
Yeah,
tough.
we have Phil in New Zealand, Ike in Japan, lots of people in India, US, Europe, yeah,
So,
everywhere.
do you ever have meetings with all of you together at the same time?
We do have a team meeting, but I don't think it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's really, yeah, really bad. It's impossible.
Yeah, because it would. I mean, unless every now and then someone has to stay up until what 2 o'clock in the morning, this person 6 o'clock, etc.
Yeah, but that's not really. We don't expect that from anyone.
Yeah,
Like it's not an expectation that we have that you have to stay up
yeah.
and but it is a challenge. The time zones are definitely. It gives me like I often have meetings in the evening, almost all the time. I have all meetings in the evening, and I go to them. So like even like day before, I had a call with one of my colleagues, and he says, "Oh, it's super late," and I said, "Well, it's okay because I just put my kids to bed."
Yeah.
So it's very like I really try to make sure that between 6 and 9 or something, if I can take that no meetings and I'll just spend some time with my kids. They're now teenagers, so they're in their room anyway. But but still, I try to make sure be there for them and we have some time.
Mm,
Um, and then how should I say it? And then afterwards we have meetings.
mm,
So if I have a meeting, I have it afterwards or before it, and that's about it.
mm,
And I think, but it does give me like okay, I have a few hours here, a few hours there, and when I do take evenings, so like if I want to go to the gym in the morning,
mm.
no one cares,
Yeah,
which I
nice,
do.
nice. Yeah,
So or want to go for a run, or want to do anything. So it's really flexible,
I love it.
but not everyone can handle that well. So
Mm, yeah, yeah. I'm the sort of person I like when I guess for me it started with lockdown, and then the new job that I have now. They're very very flexible, so it's nice to like be with the kids for a couple of hours, and then just like, make it up here and there. And like sometimes I'll be at work, and it'll be, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night,
yeah.
and it's like I'll send an email or I'll get something done, and it's always like just I've sent it, but like obviously don't answer it, and I haven't sent it just to prove that I'm working at the time. That's just literally when I'm working because I wasn't there between like
Actually, we now
calls.
have something new in Office. It tells me when I'm sending an email
Mm,
to someone who's in the US, it says, "Hey, you want to postpone this message automatically to the
that's
time
cool.
when they become available."
That's cool. Yeah, I like
So
that.
stuff like that. I mean, they're really trying hard to make it all
It's
work.
I love the integration, by the way. There's just small stuff. I think this is just existed for ages, but like when it'll through Teams or when you're sending in like an email, it'll give you like a notification of I'm not sure like is this the correct document or something, or this document there's no document. Something weird, like I can't remember what it was, but just the way it kind of integrates your calendar through Teams, and I
Yeah.
love it. It makes everything so much for someone who's very forgetful like me. You know, it's a massive help, to be honest. I have less excuse to do ridiculous things. That's basically what I'm trying to say. You know. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
you've got a question from Fernando. What toys are you available? Are you responsible for?
So I don't make any toys anymore.
No toys?
No, no toys. But I think, I mean, the main thing in the cat team we do is work with customers.
Hmm,
So we
fair
do
enough.
write guidance documentations and we do write things like this, but I'm not in actual product development anymore,
Hmm.
where we actually build
Do you miss it?
products. The main thing that we do is we talk to a lot of customers.
Hmm.
We work with our friends in the Microsoft sales organization a lot,
Okay.
and we gather all their feedback and we present it to the engineering team. So we have a lot of meetings, again, meeting heavy. We have a lot
Yeah.
of meetings, like we have like 40 or 50 meetings with every, like, we have a pretty big organization. Fabric team is big.
Okay.
So, and there's lots of different, like Alex is talking to the, as you can imagine, the Power Query team a lot.
Yeah.
And there's many, but there are many others. We have the data engineering, we have warehouses, we have analysis services, we have Copilot, UI teams. So there's so many different teams, and we meet with them and tell them like, guys, this is what's really blocking customers, or this is a problem that we're seeing
Hmm.
starting up.
Yeah.
And then they take that feedback and they take it into consideration, and hopefully it will get fixed. And so that's a lot of the work that we do too. But
Can
yeah, I live
say
mostly in PowerPoint and emails these days.
so you do you miss the product ownership or the toys being responsible for toys, or is it are you happy to leave it?
Sometimes, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It's I think, yeah, it's nice to really focus on a particular area and try to make customers
Hmm.
successful and happy with the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
Like I think, like for example, Miguel is doing an amazing job on the visualization part,
Yeah.
like really going out of his like comfort zone. It's really hard. Like he's talking to customers all the time and people who are using his products, and they're shooting at him left and right because they have opinions, and it's tough because it's your baby.
Yeah.
Like
Of
it's the
course.
same thing as, like, it's almost like a child, and now people are telling you the child is ugly, and or and so you have to handle that, and you have to say, okay, well, maybe we need, it's really tough, and he's doing an amazing job. And
Yeah. Yes.
I think this is really one of the coolest things, and this is probably also one of the reasons why I'm still here after all this time, is we definitely have a a culture in the team of like listening to feedback and adapting and changing and doing that. And that yeah, that was not the case when I joined Microsoft.
Okay,
And
that's interesting.
we changed over time. So yeah, I do miss the product part, but now on the CAD team, with working with all the customers who have all the money, I actually think we probably have more input and more like we can provide more details and we can provide more, like if you can say like I have 50 customers here that are all willing to pay more money for fabric if you solve this one problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, that's instead of like, oh, I'm a PM, I think this is a great idea.
yeah,
It's really hard to like to actually base your like with as with every company, ROI is the most important thing. We're not gonna put 200 developers on some feature that no one is gonna use it. That
yeah.
is bad. So how can we figure out like what is the biggest bang for buck? And that's a lot what our team does too, because we talk to so many customers and we can easily see in each area like, okay, this is an area that we need to start investing in quickly before it becomes ugly.
Yeah.
Uh,
You need to get more customers, therefore, who are complaining about M-IntelliSense, right? I mean, if this is Alex
Alex is
saying,
trying. Alex is
he's
trying.
trying, he's trying, and they're not listening. They're not even following on Twitter, right? I mean, last
Yeah.
time I checked, last time I heard, Power Query still wasn't following poor Alex on Twitter. So I think he needs to make some inroads there for sure.
Yeah.
Are there any? I know you can't talk about specifics for sure, but are there any times where you have to like push back against the customers though? Like they're saying, okay, with this we want this. We think this is a
I mean, so this is interesting because what we try to do is like everyone is special and everyone has their own needs and everyone will have their own things that they want to do. But what we try to do is we try to not just listen to the people who scream the loudest. We try to take it, I call this always strength in numbers. So if we have 50 customers saying the same thing, like the other thing that we try to do is we try to not really listen, we try to understand what they're trying to do. We're not going to say, like, this is the example I always give internally too. Like, the customer is not asking for clustered column store index. The customer wants to have better performance or something on this particular data. So instead of saying like this is the solution, we say this is the problem. So that makes it easier to club more customers in together because I want the engineering team, the PMs, to think about, okay, how am I going to solve this problem so that it actually is going to help us instead of for this one customer, it's going to help every Power BI customer or Fabric customer. So that's how we try to like not listen to the escalation, like, oh, I went to school with Satya, so you have to give me my feature. Um, yeah, we try to do that. So,
yeah.
but it's tough. It's not easy.
I mean, dealing with customers is never easy, but dealing with that many customers and that number of, I guess,
No, actually, I love. I
customers.
mean, it's not dealing with customers. It's really amazing that we get to talk to customers every day and understand what they're trying to do. And everyone that I talk to is very enthusiastic about our products and the things that we do, but they have their own things that they want to do. Like we were saying, 15 years in, right? Like Power BI is now, I don't know exactly how old, but I think like 8 years, 9 years. We're still not done. It's never done. We always will have a never ending, like there always will be new things. We'll get more mature, but there was always these things that people want to do.
Yeah.
So I love talking to them. I love hearing what they're telling and how they want to use their things because some of these scenarios are just amazing on the stuff that people do with the products that you're building. It's really cool. So, but it's more like, okay, how do we think about this in a different way? Like, how can we help all of them? And that's the part that we're trying.
Fair enough. So. I'm just thinking about the construct of the Fabric Cat team. So when you were the cat team, I, I envisage that being like quite a like many questions coming in about features, functions, all this stuff for Power BI. Yeah, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But with Fabric being a much broader product, incorporating so many more things, how do you then? Is there then a different split in the team with who deals with what elements of Fabric? Because it's
Yeah.
very there's a lot in there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot in there. So I mean, first of all, we have a lot of amazing people who know a lot.
Yeah,
So that definitely helps.
of
But
course.
we do have a split in the team. So we have some specialists, like for example, Phil Seamark is in my team, and yeah, like we send really really gnarly, tough questions about DAX and things to him. That's
Yeah.
no one else is, and same is with Michael Kowalski. So we have something that we call specialists. So we have some amazing team that knows everything about warehouses, Synapse, but also SQL, like Fabric warehouses. We have a team who knows everything about data engineering. Like you name it, and they know it. But 9 out of 10 times, people ask not that difficult questions.
Okay. Okay.
But really, when there is a tough escalation, so we have a large group of people with Adam and Chris Webb. Their teams are what we call generalists, and they will answer almost every question that they get.
Okay.
And because they know a lot of things. Like, again, those are most amazing people. So they are like there's people like Benny and Gabi and all these people that we all know from the community too, and they just know a lot of things. But when things get really deep, we have specialists that can go and help.
Yeah. Actually, because you said also like a lot of customers, or you get not particularly complex questions. I guess that's also given your expertise as it's a level of how you look at the
Exactly.
complexity, right? I mean,
Yeah.
for you, so it might be not a complex question. That same question might make me cry, you know. So it's really
Yeah, but I mean, but this is our job. This is our life.
of
We
course, yeah.
answer questions from. We have an internal Microsoft group where we help all of our people in the sales. I think it has like almost 10,000 people on that who are all continuously asking questions about Fabric
Crazy.
and Power BI, which of course is a part of Fabric. So we see a lot of questions and we hear a lot of questions and we learn so much from it every day. This is why I think most of us we can just go on a panel or we can have customer conversations because we see and hear it all the time. So that's really really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm employed as a senior data analyst, but like from about 2 months after I started doing my job, it wasn't really the job that I did. It was a lot of like, I guess what you would call in-house consulting, just like asking or answering lots of questions or like, helping people like do bits and pieces of stuff. And that's by far and away the favorite part of my job as well. Obviously it's a very different scale, but still
Yeah.
just being able to help people and having questions, because of course they ask me a question that sometimes I'm not entirely sure about, so I have to do a bit of research and I learn myself. It's really good fun. I like it is it's a very, very satisfying
Yeah.
part of my job.
And actually, we see this a lot with a lot of customers where they have this center of excellence. Even though we're not really center of excellence because we don't really help people doing this stuff. I think what we really do a lot is, we see it big core organizations where they have this center of excellence set up where they help people and they go ahead and fix a lot of these things. It's really really interesting to see,
Yeah,
and
cool.
I hear the same from a lot of our
I
our
can imagine.
customers too. They love that part.
Yeah, I can just imagine. So I was adjusting my microphone as you were talking there because I've been told that my audio is a bit
I
quiet.
know
I'm trying
the
to
audio problems are the bane of my existence on my podcast too. I just really I wish they would fix something about this. Like,
I just don't really check the leveling that often, to be honest. I'm just like, yeah, okay, you can hear each other. It's fine. That's close enough. But I
yeah,
hope it's better now.
it's really tough and it's really hard to fix afterwards too. So
Yes, exactly, exactly. Talking about, yes, the center of excellence stuff and the all of you. Yeah, I mean it's yeah, must be good fun. I mean, this is one of the things where when I kind of realized that my jobs that came before had been really helpful, because I spent a lot of my like work time as a student or just when I was just had graduated, working in like really like customer focused jobs, like just customer service basically. I'd work in like bookies, and I'd worked in, and honestly, I honestly, I really believe this. Working in a bookies, I think if you've worked in a bookies, you can deal with any customer in the world, because some of the stuff that I had to put up with in that job was absolutely insane. Just like the worst behavior that I can expect from a human, that's what you get in the bookies. And I spent a lot of my time thinking, "Oh, I'm kind of just like wasting my time here, and I'm not really learning anything." And it wasn't until I started actually working as a data analyst when I realized I'd actually developed pretty good people skills. And I was like, "Ah, okay, that's pretty nice. That came in handy."
Yeah, I can imagine, especially in bookies. We don't have that many bookies here in Netherlands, but in UK it's definitely big.
Yeah, it's huge. Actually, I was speaking to last week to I forget who it was last week, but it was someone who was based in Germany, and we had also this similar thing about how, and when I moved to Germany, I was really surprised that there were basically like no bookies over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very very English thing. Anyway, yeah, it was a cool thing though. But what about, do you, in your daily job, like in your fabric cat team, when you're discussing these issues and stuff, do you ever get to a point where, has it ever happened that just no one knew, like no one hadn't answered the question? You had to like hit some books that had never been looked at before, or
I
had
mean,
to
so
do
we
this
have
time.
the benefit of talking to the engineers directly who wrote it.
All right, that makes sense. I forgot about that part.
So it happens a lot. We don't know the question either. It happens a
Okay.
lot because, as you said, there are so many nuances, and
Hmm.
like even for us, luckily Alex wrote some tool that automatically, when a blog post comes out, he puts it in our private Teams channel. So even for us to keep up, like
Yeah.
it's impossible. So sometimes the customer comes and like, hey, like what about this? And like, oh my god, we have no idea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Fair enough. So.
yeah, and DAX, someone saying DAX. So as I said, we have Phil and Michael on the team. Like, if we don't know, we ask them. Like,
Hmm.
it's 100% sure that Phil knows or Michael knows the answer on DAX.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
they don't know, they will talk to Jeffrey and Marius and
Hmm.
the guys who wrote the language. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a nice resource to have.
yes,
It's, not many people have access to that.
no,
I had a colleague the other day, and she asked me, she was like learning like DAX and stuff, and a she sent me some DAX, and her question was, "Is this advanced DAX?" And I was like, "Well, do you think it is?" Well, she said, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Well, if you think it's advanced DAX, then it is advanced DAX." Because I was trying, in that moment, I didn't realize, I was like, there is actually no definition, I don't think. Is there an actual definition of advanced DAX? So I just decided, if you think it's advanced, then it is advanced, and then you learn more, and then it's no longer advanced. It just incrementally less things become advanced.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know. Like DAX is one of those things. Like I find I never learned like the basics from the start. So I did DAX, and then after like 2 years, I was like, I don't understand so much. So I had to go like back to the very start. That was tough.
I mean, it's like I know there are some comments in the like in the chat, like DAX. I mean, you can make it as complicated as you want.
Yeah, yeah,
So, like, if you see some customers and the way they've done the model and the way that they have done like billions of rows of data with a not so great model, and then they write DAX as if they're writing an Excel formula, nesting and nesting and nesting, then you will get in trouble.
yeah, yeah,
And it's like, yeah, there's an infinite variety of things that you can try and shoot yourself in the foot with.
mm,
But on the reverse,
mm.
there are also infinite possibilities of the things that you can do to, like, the most amazing things that I've seen people, like, sometimes you see this customer doing stuff and you think, wow,
Yeah,
like, this is amazing.
yeah,
Like, how did he do this?
mm,
And
yeah.
it's yeah, it's mind blowing.
I see. I'm just looking at some of these comments that I'm going to try and bring them up. So, what did Chris say? Yeah, the problem is DAX is too complicated. And then what we're saying,
But Chris
it's
likes to say these things.
Yeah, but maybe this is too complicated if your data tables and models not designed correctly. And this actually I had a comment. My wife also worked with Power BI, and sometimes they'll walk into her office to like bring her some food, and then a question will fly at me.
Yeah.
And yes, it was like 2 days ago. She was like, I want to do this DAX, and I only wanted to have the filter, but only if the this column displays not all the words, but like some words. And I'm like, I don't just put a go to Power Query and put a flag on it. Okay, just if text contains, put a flag on the data, and then use that as your. It's like that's just too much. I would just if I don't know. For my, especially when it comes to filtering, I'm just like, just go to Power Query and put a flag on it, and then it's so
Yeah.
much easier. Because, my God.
It all depends on what you want to do with it. So that
Yeah.
works if you're doing it for yourself.
Mm.
But if you have to build a model that's going to serve hundreds of or maybe thousands of business users in your organization, then it's a different ballgame. So,
It's a true story.
and then to your point, like the filter here, column there, this, that, like some of these business requirements are
Mm.
ridiculous. And then the way
Oh yeah,
they try to solve this.
yeah,
So
completely.
it's fun, but I mean, to be honest, as I mentioned before, like there was a period of my career I also was a PM for DAX, but that was like long time ago, and
Mm.
like I had this, I did actually did this podcast with Alberto
Okay.
on my channel too. There is like this, I feel like there's DAX 1.0, that's the one I started with, and then there's DAX 2.0 that came later,
Okay.
and then now we have visual calcs.
I was gonna
So
say,
it
yeah,
really changed
yeah.
over time
Mm.
on what it did and how it worked. So
For sure.
it's and I'm also not keeping up to date. So
I one of the things that I dislike the most though about DAX is not DAX itself, is when people say continuously DAX is hard, right? And it's not because I think DAX is easy. It's simply because I think that when you're in this bubble of a community, yeah, and you say things, and then it becomes like a half joke, like DAX is hard, and people keep repeating it, repeating it. People outside or people like just learning will also hear DAX is hard, DAX is hard, and it puts up this barrier, and it makes people a bit more daunted to actually get into it. So, and I really think that this is a made up statistic, right? But you get me. A large number, I'm going to say 98%, that's probably wrong. 98% of the DAX that most people need is actually not that hard.
mm.
But when you really get into the deep and dirty of it, of like really specific things, then yeah, it can be.
But it's actually really funny. I had this discussion with Benny recently. Benny is also an organizer of some of the conferences in Belgium, and he's very involved in a lot of these things. My DAX, like when people go to conferences, they want to see complicated stuff.
Yeah.
They want to hear complicated things, and they want to know about Direct Lake, and they want to know about like I don't know if anyone saw like Phil's last DAX session is about DAX Fusion.
All
It's
right.
an amazing session, but I think not many people really get it. Like it's so complicated and it's so hard.
Yeah.
Instead, I think we should focus on the basics.
Yeah.
Like just there are so many people who don't understand the basics, like data modeling. How do you build that session? I submit it all the time. It never gets accepted to conferences. They
It's
rather hear my more complicated
Mm.
sessions on whatever it is, security or whatever.
Yeah.
They rather hear that they instead of me going to a conference and talking about the basics, which I
Yeah.
think is much more important. But even people going to a conference want to hear they want to have their in the end of the session say, okay, my brain is now completely hurting, and
Yeah. I think there's something to that where people can take something that's a bit more basic and they can think to themselves, ah, yeah, but I can just like watch a video on YouTube about that. Or just that. They don't, they won't, but they think that they can. But if it's
yeah,
something that's more complex, it just seems more interesting. They'll probably get more out of as you say, they'll probably get more, and it'll probably help them on a day-to-day basis, much more the basic stuff,
yeah,
um, especially data modeling. Data modeling is honestly, I mean, everyone knows, but it's just the amount of issues that you see that are just really, really just because of the model. It's crazy. It's the thing that I'm okay at it, but if you said to me, point at the thing that you're probably worst at, I would say data modeling,
yeah.
because it can get really complicated really quickly. For
Yeah,
some
and
of
it's
them,
really
yeah,
funny because again, data modeling is also a topic that has been discussed to death, right?
yeah,
It's been like it's the topic of memes. It's been discussion at conferences. Like how many times is data modeling is dead? How many times have we have we heard this story? Like, oh, just do denormalized big tables and
mm-hmm.
all of these things. But there are reasons for it.
Yeah,
There's good reasons that this is so successful.
yeah,
Um,
I
so,
completely.
but yeah, it's actually a bit of a problem, right? Like,
Mm,
I completely agree with you. Like
yeah,
people want to hear the hard part, and people want to not do the work.
yeah. But actually, this is a coming from Chris, Kimball Copilot. I mean, co-piloting with
Does
data
anyone
models.
here remember multidimensional models? Do you everyone remember the wizard that you had when you were starting to create a multidimensional model? That's it, Kimball Copilot.
Yeah,
You had to pick measures and dimensions, and you had to conform it immediately.
yeah,
If you didn't do the right thing, then the model just wouldn't work.
mm, yeah,
But as I was saying before, when you need to know these things up front, the barrier to entry gets way higher.
yeah, yeah.
And that kills it for a lot of people who just want to do some quick analytics,
Mm.
which,
That's the thing. That's this. It's the quick analytics. That's really what it comes down to.
yeah,
Because the number, a huge number of people just want to basically grab some tables and then see some numbers, basically. But this is where, but that's where the problem starts. It starts with quick analytics, and you've got this file, and oh, I've got the data there. I'll just keep building on that. But
yeah,
you bring more and more in, and then what was quick analytics becomes something that's quite complex, and you can quite quickly get in kind of in over your head,
yeah,
and yeah, I guess this was perhaps one of the reasons why this feature that I always switch off in Power BI, this connect the data tables with auto load or whatever it was. You bring in the new data tables and it would automatically connect. I always switch that off, but I guess that was one of the reasons that existed. But when you have a complex data model, it can also not helpful as well.
yeah.
We'll see.
That's exactly the reason why it's there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yes, everyone who has read the blog post on why to turn it off from SQL BI has turned it off. But the people who didn't and just have an Excel spreadsheet that they want to analyze, they're using it.
it's true.
And I think the interesting things is so we can see some of the statistics of the things that are happening in the Power BI service.
Mm.
The majority of the models are not complicated models.
Yeah, for sure.
The majority of the models are small, not
Yep.
a handful of tables. That's it,
Yeah, completely.
and they're used pretty heavily. Of course, there are some behemoths out there too, with like massive models and amazing data sizes and calculation groups and you name it.
Mm.
Yeah, they need to follow the SQL BI training probably.
You mentioned you just made me think of something. Metrics. I mean, as in usage metrics, that kind of stuff. You might not know this. I'm not sure if you do. I'll ask it anyway. Is there regarding the usage metrics of the reports, who use what, all that kind of stuff, and which reports have been used, and is there any plans to kind of ever allow the data set owner to be the person who actually owns the data? Like if you go to the metrics data, that's owned by Microsoft, it's not owned by the companies themselves. Is there plans to change that at some point? Because that would be totally awesome. I'm sorry for totally putting you on the spot here, but I just thought of it right
No,
now.
but you can see it today. You can see all the metrics today.
You can see the metrics, but I mean, ownership of the data sets is what I mean. Like, 'cause it'll always say like that Microsoft owns the data sets, not the actual users. So I was just wondering if it was a possibility.
I'm not
Metrics
sure
Hub.
I'm getting it.
Metrics Hub. Yeah, I know there's a Metrics Hub, but also it's very restrictive. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It just came in my head right now because you started talking about statistics of the data models and the size of them and whatnot. All good. I want to go back to something that you said at the very, very start, by the way, that you used to live in the US. When was that?
2010
2010. Okay.
to
Cool.
2016.
You lived for 6 years.
Yeah,
Ah, cool. Do you miss it? Was it cool?
it was definitely cool. Like the US is an amazing country.
Yeah.
I mean, especially here when you compare to like Netherlands, the open roads and like
Mm.
1 hour drive one way and you would be in the mountains skiing, and you drive an hour one way, you'll be at the ocean, and you drive north. you'll be in some pine forest, and south you have like a huge mountain, a volcano that is sitting there. It's just beautiful.
That's right. Yeah, that's very
Like
nice.
it's wild. It's yeah. It's really nice.
I guess the scenery is different from the Netherlands, basically, which is quite a.
It's not just the scenery. It's more like the wildness. I think of it, especially in the Pacific Northwest. Like this is
Okay.
where I lived, so
Yeah. Oh, so you live
it's
in like the Seattle area, right?
yeah,
Okay, that
Seattle
makes
area.
sense.
Yeah, so I mean that was nice, and it was also very interesting to see. Like this is one of the things I miss from Europe most probably is the ability to go. How should I say it? When I was in see
That's
my
awesome.
my my daughter is watching upstairs.
I love that. That's so cool. That's a first.
Yeah,
So you being supported by your kids. That's fantastic.
exactly. Actually, the little picture on there is in Pacific Northwest.
Oh, really?
Yes. But
Amazing.
no, I think it's amazing. Like I like it, and the other thing that I like is the really tech. Like especially in Seattle,
Yeah,
like when I would go to a kid's birthday party, there would be other people working on products engineering, like
I
Facebook,
understand.
Google, Amazon,
Mm,
Apple, you name it. They
mm,
were there, and you can have discussions on, and you can like there is this energy there that I definitely don't have here.
yeah, I can understand that.
Uh, but it also has its downside. So
Yeah,
I don't think there's never
yeah, for sure.
never there's never a good thing, and this is what I'm used to. Like there's some things that I'm missing. Like people talking about trains.
Mm,
I'm Dutch guy. I miss my bike. I miss biking to stuff.
mm,
I just go on my bicycle and I bring my kids to school and back.
yeah,
I do it every day. That was not possible in the US. So
yeah, that's true.
simple
That's a good point.
things is what I was missing.
Yeah.
So
Is there? I've spent basically no time in the Netherlands. I've been there like 3 times. I was there for the Power BI Gebruikerstag. I probably said that wrong. I
yeah,
apologize.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, being a person who lives in Germany, one of the things that frustrates me most is the lack of anything technological innovation. So it's quite like, it's hard to pay by card
Yeah.
in places in Berlin, and like the necessity of owning a printer is that better in the
No,
Netherlands
it's
or
completely different here. Like I actually had some because with Ben Weissman too, because he has a company. Like sometimes he has to use the fax machine to do stuff in Germany. Like this
yes.
is definitely not. We are.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting to see the Netherlands is very forward thinking in
Mm,
uses of technology.
mm.
And so when I just started the cat team, I was the only one outside of the US. So we
Okay.
didn't have a global team. I was the only guy.
No way.
And that means I had to work with like it was just me.
Hmm.
And it was me working with Dutch, French, German, even within Europe. Like I can take my car and I can drive to Germany probably in 45 minutes or something. I'll be at the border.
Yeah.
So it's not far, but it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even the adoption of the cloud and
Mm.
Power BI, and it just took so much longer in Germany than it did in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for the French, for example. With
Interesting, really. Didn't know that.
yeah, also a similar thing for the French. I mean, of course, I'm generalizing here, so it's not
Of course, yeah.
everyone, but
Mm-hmm.
it definitely takes a bit longer. Uh, yeah,
I mean,
so it's 45
which
minutes to Germany, and in 4 hours I can be in Paris. So
one of the things that we went on holiday with my family recently, and we went to a small town just north of Nuremberg for Easter, and it was still like it was a small town, but it was still populated and stuff. And we were sitting there, and when we got to the holiday home, the internet was broken, which just would have been okay, but also we didn't have any signal on our phones. So we were completely, which, I kind of judge myself for caring that much, but this is when you're on holiday and you want to plan what you want to do the next day. But I was sitting there in this German town, which was not tiny, and I was like, how is it possible that when in Switzerland, I can be in the freaking Alps? and I still get a signal on my phone standing in like, in a random nowhere on a mountain. But in Germany, in a small town, you still get nothing. It's bizarre. It's
I
really,
know.
really strange.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, so it's definitely a different lifestyle here than it is in the US.
hmm.
I miss the little terraces, like just going and sitting outside and having some drinks and stuff. Like it's not really hard. Not everywhere in the US, of course, you can. It's the same, but in Seattle, definitely didn't exist.
Exactly. I mean, it's difficult to have this sort of conversation and not like have massive generalizations. But it's, I mean, because then I know I'm an English person who lives in Germany, but I've lived here since like 2005, so I'm quite qualified to make the
Yes.
statements. And I also have to remember that when I say Germany, most of the time I actually mean Berlin, and the capital city is very often not representative of the country as a whole, you know? So I can't say that Germans are rude, but I can say that Berliners are rude, okay? And that's just true. But I think with the technology thing, that's quite nationwide. I read something recently, I didn't fact check it, but it was saying that I think that there are still something like 75 services offered by the German like government where not only is a fax can be used, a fax has to be used for these 75 services. So I mean that's just crazy. Like
Yeah.
to have processes where you still need a fax. I called my doctor the other day and I called the wrong number and I got that noise that I haven't heard for a long, long
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I was like, that's a throwback.
Yeah.
Fax, mad.
That's pretty amazing. No, I don't think there's any facts here anymore.
Yeah,
I do still have a printer though, but
yeah.
I
Well,
don't
that's
use it that often.
we use it when our kids have homework. We have to print a PDF. I have to really try to be not the grumpy person that I can be and just print the
Yeah.
goddamn paper up without complaining about complaining
Yes.
about it. Oh man. Anyway, one thing I want to say, which I was meaning to say from the very start, when we first met, well, we've met twice. We met once in the Netherlands, went once in Billund.
Yeah.
Do you ever do this thing where you do or you say something and it plays on your mind forever, like you say and do the wrong thing? We were sitting next to each other in a bar and you'd had a Negroni, yeah? And you said, and I never had a Negroni before. Oh, that's quite nice. No, I think you let me taste it with a straw. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, and sitting next to you, I had a beer, and you were like, you were very nice conversation. You were being very generous and said, "Ben, can I get you a drink?" And I was like, "Yes, please." Now, this has played on my mind for 2 years, or since I said, instead of just being a nice person and just saying, yes, I'll have another beer, please, I was like, yeah, can I get a Negroni, please? And honestly, that's played on my mind for like 2.5 years. I was like, Ben, just get a beer. And
No.
A Negroni is a much more expensive drink. So, honestly, I had to relieve myself of this inner voice that's been mocking myself for two and a
I
half
mean, I'm
years.
trying to convert everyone to Negroni drinkers.
Yeah.
So
So,
that
how,
is
long story short, next time I see you, I owe you a drink, mate.
a Negroni.
And the Negroni, exactly.
Yeah. I don't mind. So
Oh man, awesome. Mate, okay, I'll let you go because I know you need to put your kids to bed and whatnot. And I'll
well,
leave
they're
it.
quite happy to
Oh yes, they're watching
stay
watching.
up.
Actually, well, maybe you can ask. Yes, you can answer this one final question. What is a Negroni? What's in a Negroni? I don't know actually.
What is a Negroni? Negroni is a nice cocktail. It has gin, vermouth, and Campari in it.
It's
So
very good. It's very
it's
good.
very good. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind them. I had an old fashioned too. So like the Donald Harris is saying, like they're all good, but it's I like the bit. They are pretty strong. So they are strong. There's a lot of alcohol. It's a bit big flavor.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
It gets you there.
it's not a thing you drink a whole night. Like definitely would not recommend doing that.
But it's also it's a. I think it's the drink I had it for the first time. Is that guy someone Stanley Tucci or Stanley the actor? He was in, I don't know. He got really resurgence of popularity during lockdown because he started I think a YouTube channel just making cocktails and stuff. And I think Stanley Tucci was the first time I'd heard
And
of it.
actually, one of my Italian colleagues,
Hmm?
Riccardo Muti, a long
Okay.
time ago, he doesn't work there anymore. He now works at the competitors. But he's the one who got me onto. Yeah, he's the one who got me into Negronis.
Good man. See, I like it. And then you're just spreading the word as well. Very
Exactly.
good. Cool, mate. Then I will let you go. I can hear
Thank
my
you. It
kids
was great.
downstairs. My wife is drying the kids' hair, I think, so it means it's almost bedtime. Thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy
Thank you.
schedule. It's much
And
appreciated.
thanks everyone for the nice chat.
Indeed, the comments, the conversation is always much more fun with the chat going on. So thanks to everyone joining, and yeah, pretty sure I'm back next Thursday for. Yes, I am, with one before I head off to the Faroe Islands for an awesome conference on Dataviz. So take
Nice.
care,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone.
Goodbye.